Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to be continuing on with our C# tutorial series, and in this tutorial we are going to be covering logical operators in C#. So what are the logical operators then? Well, the logical operators allow us to be able to execute things like and, or, not, equal to, not equal to, all that kind of stuff. These are again much like the relational operators, things that are used in Boolean expressions. And we will also use them in conditional statements later on, but for now, we're going to use them in the initialization of Boolean variables. So, here we have 4 different integer values, a, b, c, and d, and we're going to use the we are going to be using the logical operators on these values. Okay, so we're going to say bool. We'll call this, you generally shouldn't do this, but we're going to do this here anyway. So bool e equals, and then the first thing we're going to take a look at is the AND operator. Now, the AND operator is relatively simple. Basically, in order for the Boolean to return true, both sides of the condition have to be true. It can't be one side is true, one side is false. Both sides have to be true. If they're not both true, then the Boolean will be false. So the first condition, I am so sorry guys, I don't get much sleep. But anyway, the first condition we're going to have is A is less than B, and so 2 ampersands is the AND operator. Then we do a second condition, in which case we'll say C is greater than D. Now let's take a look at the values that we have, and we're going to then determine whether or not these conditions are, or whether or not this condition will return true. So int a equals 4, and b is equal to 8. So that means a is in fact less than b. So that side of the condition is true. C equals 10, but d is 456. So that side of the condition is not true. It's false. Then what does that mean then? Well, that means bool e is false. Because both sides of the condition aren't true. So, and we can see this if we go ahead and do a console write line, and we give it E. So that's AND. Let's take a look at OR. So we can say bool F is equal to A is less than B, and, or rather, So we did and originally. Now we're going to do or. What is or? How do we do the or operator? Well, that is two vertical pipes like that. These are the keys. This is basically like the backslash when you hold down the shift key. So hold down shift and hit backslash, and that is how you do the or operator. Okay. Or C is greater than D. Okay. And so now this Boolean expression reads A is less than B or C is greater than D. Now or will return true if one side is if either or, if left or right is true, then it'll return true. If they're both false, it'll return false. If both are true, it'll return true, right? So, or kind of gives you a little bit more leniency, where if you want either side to be true, to return true, then you would use the or. But if you want both sides, but if both sides of the condition have to be true, use and. All right. So that is or. And we can go ahead and do console write line F. So I guess before we can move on, let's kind of go over what this means then. Well, we saw in the and condition that that with and it'd be false because one side is true, the other is not. Right? So that means it's false. However, with or, because the left side of the condition is true, but the other's false, it'll still return true. And we'll be able to see that when we run our code again, when we run our code, right? So, the next one we're going to take a look at is the equal to operator. So, bool G equals, let's say, A is equal to B. And so what this does then, the equal to operator, which is two equal signs, basically tests both sides of the condition to see if the operands are the same value. So A and B are not the same value, so this will return false. The equal to operator will only return true if both sides are equal to one another. And we can see this using console write line G like that. Inversely, we have not equal to. So bool H is equal to, let's say, A exclamation point equals B. Now, what does this mean? Well, this not equal to condition basically tests to see if the left and right operands are not equal to one another. In this case, A and B are not equal to one another, so this H Boolean will be true. We can do a console write line H. Okay, so those are the first few and perhaps some of the most common ones that you'll use. The final one that we're going to look at is the not operator. Now, you might think, but I thought we already covered that. No, we didn't. The one we just covered was not equal to, right? The not operator is slightly different. Let's say we want to test if if you know if a specific expression isn't true, right? So let's say we have a bool. We're going to call this I equals to A is less than B. Okay. So here we're in this condition we're testing if A is less than B. Yada yada yada. We get it already, right? Well, what if we want to flip the result of this expression? There are two ways we can do this. We can either wrap it in parentheses and do a not operator, or we can just have the not operator and not have the parentheses. So what is the not operator then? Well, the not operator, if we go to the front of this condition, is just an exclamation point. And so you can see this is giving us an error. So let's go ahead and do a Control W, Control E, go into our error list. And so you can see here we have a bit of an issue, and that is in this particular case, we cannot apply the not operator to an integer, and that's how C# is interpreting this. So in this particular case, we need to surround A less than B in parentheses, like that. And so now that error goes away. And what this is telling us is this basically says if not A is less than B. Right? So we know A is in fact less than B, and that will return true. However, the not operator will invert that, so it'll be false. So console right line I, like that. Let's go ahead now and run our code. And you can see all the trues and falses in our statements exactly how we figured it would go. And so that pretty much does it for relational operators. Let's go ahead and go back over these before we end. The AND operator is 2 ampersands. That tests to see if the left and right side of the condition, if both conditions on either side of the operator are true, it'll return true. Otherwise, it'll return false. You cannot have one side be true, one side be false, and still have it be true. And must have both conditions be true. Okay? Or, which is 2 vertical pipes, is a little bit different, where you can have one side be true and the other be false, and it still return true. If both sides are true, then it's true. If both sides are false, it's false. If one side is true, one side is false, it'll return true. Okay? We have an equal to, which tests the both sides of the operand, of the operator rather, if both operands are equal to one another. So if we have a variable called x and a variable called y, and they're both a value of 3, then that would return true, right? If we were to do x equals y. If one value was different than the other, like x being 3, y being 4, then it would return false. Okay? Not equal does the exact opposite of equal to, where it tests if both operands on either side of the operator are not equal to one another. If they're not equal to one another, it returns true. If they are equal to one another, it returns false. Okay? Then we have the not operator. And the not operator is used to invert the result of a condition. The not operator is useful if you, say, have a toggle switch and you want to invert the current value of a specific boolean every time the switch toggles. Something like that. That's kind of an example of how that would work. So that pretty much does it, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.